Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Christian Recorder Dialogues. We are bringing you this special interview as part of our General Board coverage with the Right Reverend James Lavert Davis, the President of the General Board,
Indeed.
and my former pastor when I was at Morehouse. Bishop, thank you for being with us today at the Christian Recorder Dialogues. You have just successfully concluded technically your third General Board meeting, but our second formal one. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling encouraged because whenever people have information, whenever people feel as though there's a desire on the part of leadership to include them, it always encourages me because I think the people are moving in a direction that's positive.
And I know that you, first let's take a walk back. So tell us, for those who are watching who may not be familiar, what is the General Board?
The General Board is the official instrument organism that operates in the interim of the General Conference. And so since the General Conference only meets every 4 years, somebody has to have the authority to speak with authority for the denomination. And the General Board is one of those instruments legislatively that speaks for the General Conference in the interim.
And as I understand it, the General Board is composed of persons elected from their districts at the General Conference. I believe each district has 5 members, plus a number at large. And the general officers, like myself, and the connection departments report to the General Board.
Absolutely. And that's basically what it is. It has representation from every Episcopal district so that the word and the information sifters down. And certainly any person who has been elected, any group that has been elected from the Episcopal district holds a responsibility to keep the Episcopal district informed. And the bishop leadership has a responsibility of making sure that that report of what happened at the general at the meeting General Board should be reported to each Episcopal district.
I remember that one bishop, I forgot who he said, but he said, if you want to know the church, you need to join the General Board. And I know it is considered one of the honors of the church to serve it in this way. But you, sir, you come from a distinguished line of AME pastors and just seeing and growing up. So what does it mean for you personally to be the president of the General Board?
I think it's the highest honor given to my family history. I think it's a single honor given to every Episcopal district that I've served. I think it's an overwhelming honor given to the people who raised me in all of the congregations. And there was only really one because I grew up in one church.
Wow.
As my father was a pastor for 33 years. And so to have the knowledge of having that experience of growing into the church, to be a part of this exciting experience and actually having the opportunity to have input into it, and prayerfully meaningful input that allows for us to do better is a single honor.
Wow. And again, I should also say Bishop Davis is my watch scare bishop, home away from home.
Indeed.
So you end up in your last 4 years being back. I'm back at square. I'm back full circle.
Absolutely.
As the Bishop of South Carolina. So Bishop, you're taking over this administrative arm of the church at a critical moment. Can you tell us about some of the challenges that are facing the church through your lens as the head of this administrative body?
Yeah, I think the most visible challenge that people are focusing on, though I don't think it's the biggest challenge we have, the biggest one that we focus on is this retirement issue and the unfortunate situation that faces us. And certainly it is serious. Certainly it is a biggie whenever you affect your personnel who has charge of your daily product. And for the loss of another term, I say product because the people in the pew are indeed our anchor. If we don't have them, we have nothing. And so they are in charge. And so whatever affects our personnel ultimately affects the church at large. And this retirement issue is one that affects our personnel and not in a positive way. I'm happy to say that the church has taken its part of responsibility and is moving ahead to try to make corrections. And I am so proud of my church for its willingness to do what is right towards the personnel. But you ask about what is the biggest issue. I don't think that is a big issue. I don't mean to reduce it in importance at all. The biggest issue for me, though, is the issue of growth. Our biggest issue now is, for me, going back to the basics of what the church's mission and purpose really is, because we can handle everything else and it could go just fine. But if we don't find a way to get our people back to the fundamental issue of, do you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, which promotes every other exercise. It is not what we do in repairing the toilets at the church, or putting the roof on, or moving the social media. Those are tools. But the reality of it is, our mission is to help to see the spiritual welfare of people, and to look at the souls that are available, not the numbers, but the souls that are available to be reached for Jesus Christ.
Wow. And sometimes we talk about the business of the church, and the general board is doing the business of the church. And so how do we keep this mindset where we're dealing with dollars, we're dealing with, just like you said, we're a church organization. Our money should match our ministry. So how do we do the business of the church at its highest level?
Well, the reality of it is, I think that what I just said in terms of encouraging and motivating and massaging a relationship with Jesus Christ puts the attitude, the spirit of the people where it needs to be, in order to make the resource possible to do everything we need to do. We don't have a money crisis. We have a relationship crisis. And whenever we get more concerned about the organization rather than the organism, it leads us to a struggle that we cannot win. We cannot finance what God is not blessing. We cannot move our business ahead if God has not if we don't develop a relationship with the provider of those resources. And so we go back to the central part. We do our business in an order. Get people to love Jesus Christ. Get people to fall in love with him at the highest level. When you're in love, you want to do everything that my wife has no problems in getting me to pay the bills. I pay the bills. I pay for the new car. I pay for the new house. I sign my name to stuff that I know I can't afford because I love her. That's what a mortgage is. It's a promissory note that says you don't know how it's going to happen, but you're willing to do it because you love them. And so if people love Jesus, we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem. And that's what I think we're not focusing on. We're focusing on official boards. We're focusing on all the other stuff. That's what made me proud of what Bishop McKenzie did today in the theme. And it matches what we had already prescribed as our theme for the 2nd District. Now we can mesh them together, because our theme, is tied into the need for first personal growth, as Bishop McKenzie stated today.
And I watched that video in the 7th, and I watched it and I saw it, and I was like, it was that fire, I hope, really ignite. See, it was a hot video. I was, and I appreciate that. And I've told one of my friends, because you are one of the, and we'll talk about this in another interview a little bit on when you're waving to tell us what you're going to do next.
Indeed.
But I remember I remember all of these. You did Proceed, then you did Hope, then you did Revive, then you did Real, and now you did Ignite. I remember all of them because you have each one of these, and so it is nice to see that what you embodied in one of your districts has been seen here at the highest level, and so we have the opportunity to really ignite this across the connectional church. So, when you ran for bishop, you said, I showed up to work. So when you showed up for the general board work on that first of the general conference, we were like, now you got a whole bunch of things to sign. What initially were you thinking when that paperwork, Bishop Quimby said, God bless you, God keep you, here you go?
The only thing that goes through my mind when it comes to the general board is an opportunity to include people in the decision-making process. And sometimes that's a challenge, because when people are not accustomed to taking responsibility for the whole truth, it becomes necessary on the part of some leadership styles to water down that truth. My thing is, you know the whole truth so that we can all make reasonable decisions, godly decisions, informed decisions about where we go. So the general board for me is not a change in my leadership style. And that is, come on, get at the table.
Yes.
Come on, look at what we have to work with. Look at the problem that it is. And now, how do we make this problem, how do we change it? How do we offer a resolution to it? And that's, I know leadership is supposed to offer some input, but leadership is not responsible for the whole of the input. It is a concerted effort from all of us.
And speaking about input, one of the changes that will, or one of, I guess, the permanent adaptations we've seen is that we did Zoom calls during the pandemic, but for the first time at the seat of the general board, we used Zoom to bring in person for 14 through 20. Can you walk us through that decision that was made, your advocacy for it, and how you viewed it, how it was impacted the board?
I think technology has given us an opportunity that we have never faced before. The Zooming process solves a number of problems for us. It solves the problem of perceived waste, you know, because if you're bringing people to an atmosphere and an environment that our hotel room is costing $200 a night, $185 a night, and if you're having to spend the money that it takes to come to these meetings, and you're having to spend, I think much of what we do could be more effectively done by using technology and the technological resources that you and your staff all are using right now. I think the whole church needs, we used it in the midst of what we call crisis. I think we ought to use it right now when it comes to doing business. I think it's effective time. It's less time consuming. It allows us to keep a resource in place. Just think about, and that's what I said to the people when I was in the 2nd district. I'll reduce the number of meetings that we have if you give me a hotel bill so that I can help pay for the building there in Washington. It is, and that's the same thing I'm saying to the people in the 7th. You let me reduce some of these meetings, put them online, and I'm prepared, and you give me a hotel night stay, I'm prepared to show you what we can do with that.
And I think, you know, especially for those from 14 through 20, this was the first time that I've seen so many delegates from 14 through 20 be here.
Most definitely.
During, and also we had bishops who, for a variety of reasons, could not be here physically, but they were still able to be here and
absolutely,
be heard.
absolutely.
So that's a commended thing for your inclusivity. And also, speaking of, as we close, the reason why we're able to do this interview at 12:13 is because time was treated as money. And so just, you have like this deft style where you were able to navigate the business, not make people feel that they were rushing, but we got out early. Now, this was the organizational general board, and we had a few things to do. So June, you may be getting us out at noon, but just how did you do that?
I don't know whether I did it, but I do believe in focusing on the issue. Let's move with the agenda that's printed. Let's focus on the issue. Let's have as much intervention as possible. Let's agree to agree with that which we can agree on, and a plan of action to deal with that which we can agree on. And so today was what I hope is going to be a typical example of us respecting the serious time of those who commit themselves to coming to Atlanta, you know?
Because I don't think, like, I was on the general board for 16 years before being in this seat, and just the aha moment of, if we get to know the commissions ahead of time, like we did on Zoom, we don't have to spend 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And that literally was like, we actually got stuff done at some of the commissions in the first meeting, which is like unheard of.
Absolutely.
So
just suppose, Doctor, that we had put all of the commissions in a room
Mhm.
virtually
Mhm.
and allowed them to do their thing as long as they wanted to do in a Zoom virtual meeting, and then come back on a larger Zoom to have the reports.
And that might actually enable us to, do more than just one annual meeting,
Absolutely.
which, I'm all for meeting when we need to get something done.
Absolutely.
And I think that would shift our focus on. So when you come, when we're really, really here,
Yeah.
it's got some of the stuff we do.
We got some stuff to
here
do.
could have been done in a virtual meeting a couple of weeks to bring me the
Absolutely.
results. So
Absolutely.
that's a culture that I hope that if y'all are listening, just time is money, literally. And I hope that what you showed us about the economy of time today is important. But Bishop, you have set us on a path, and I'm glad that you are the president of the general board who can peer over the retirement settlement to see what's next. And this will end, but our challenge and commitment to growth must move forward. So thank you, sir. Any final words for our audience?
I really appreciate the questions that you have put forth as it relates to the improvement of our time for the general board.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here clicking on what can be done the next time to cut some of that time out. And if we are able to do just what we talked about in terms of just having these commissions to meet online, the commissions themselves to meet in a Zoom, I think it would really seriously limit the amount of expenses we have in these meetings, which says to our people that we respect their sacrifice and we really understand that it does not come easy for the widow's mite to come to this place.
Wow.
And so I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity of sharing it and this platform that gives me an opportunity to say to my church, come on, y'all, let's all work on the same job, the same project. Let's hit on the same nail. We'll get that thing nailed in there if all of us are hitting on the same nail.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time on the Chris Recorder Dialogues.